If you're working full-time and studying for the CPA exam, the odds are stacked against you. And most people either fail or burn out because they're following advice that doesn't work for people with demanding jobs. But I passed the CPA exams while working full-time in public accounting. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I did it. The study sessions, the study schedules, the mindset shifts, all that good stuff, everything that made a difference. So if you're tired of following plans that you feel like aren't working, pay attention because this is a proven plan. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is have a mindset shift because most people don't realize how hard it is to study for these exams while working full time. So you have deadlines at work, you have no energy when you get home, you have personal responsibilities you have to take care of, and you also want to find time to, have fun and relax every once in a while. So you don't really have a lot of time. And it doesn't help that you've never really been in this situation before. Yeah, in college, you probably had other responsibilities and maybe you did work a job or you were an intern, but once you're really working and in the real world, it is different, and same with the CPA exams. These aren't just, like a class that you take, that's a bit easier because you have specific assignments or, you follow along with the class and the professor kind of holds you accountable. No, the CPA exam, it's hard because no one is holding you accountable. This is like something you've never experienced before, so that's why you need a mindset shift. You need to realize that the CPA exam is not like anything else you've dealt with before, especially while working your full-time job. So I think you just need to accept that and acknowledge it because if you don't, it's just going to cause you frustration and honestly will just end with you burning out. So accept the fact that this is new and you're going to need new strategies to deal with this new challenge. You need to set expectations, for one, to hold yourself accountable, and two, so you know what to expect. You need to just remember the CPA exam is not about cramming. That is absolutely not what this exam is about. You're not going to get through it by cramming it all in a week. No, it's about consistency. It's about sitting down 5 to 7 days a week and studying for, 2-ish hours, if not more. And you also don't need 4 hours a day. Like I said, 2 hours a day, 2 to 3, or even 90 minutes, that's okay. You're not going to be putting in 4 to 6 hour study sessions. That's not realistic if you're working a full-time job. And then finally, just forget about perfection because perfection does not exist. Perfectionism is only going to lead to burnout and frustration. So just remind yourself, make sure you know as you're going into it that you're not going to know everything. That's just not going to happen and you need to be okay with that. Okay, so that is step one, the mindset shift. You got to remember you're not in college anymore. What you did back then is not what you're going to do now because you're a working professional. Things are very different now and you need different strategies. Like I said, you're not going to cram. You're not going to just study the night before. You're not going to have someone pushing you every week saying, okay, class, we need to be on this chapter now. No, you have to do it yourself. You have to hold yourself accountable 5 to 7 days a week, 90 minutes to 2 or 3 hours a day. That's what it's all about now. Consistency, not cramming or whatever you're doing in college. So let's get into a bit more of the specifics of what you need to do to actually pass the exam. And remember, this is exactly what I did. So it's proven to work and it's actually very simple. And if you implement it, it's just going to make your life easier. But like I said, very simple. Let's get into it. Step one is get a review course. That's pretty obvious. Some people do ask me hey, do I need a review course? And the answer is yes, you do need a review course. It's almost impossible to do one without it. So yeah, but don't overthink it. Just get one. Becker is obviously the gold standard, but it's also the most expensive. There's options like Universal, what else is there? Surgeon, UWorld, there's plenty of options out there, Ninja, and yeah, all people pass with them every single day. So one of them is not going to make or break whether you pass or not, but don't overthink it too much, just get one. All right, and the next thing you need to do is set a plan. And this is really important. You kind of want to think high level timeline. When do I want to have all 4 of these exams passed? And this is not something where you have to okay, I'm saying this now and I'm going to stick to it 100%. And if I don't, it's ruined. No, there's just a high level, yeah, I think I'd want to pass my first exam maybe in the next 3 months and the one after that, maybe in a month or 2. And then I'll have the holidays. So maybe I'll take 2 months off and then I'll pass the next one in March. So, and then the last one in June. Just think high level, what's come up in your life. If you have a big event, like I said, the holidays, or, you're going on a big vacation, maybe you don't want to start studying until after that. Just like I said, high level, think about the general timeline, think about what order you want to do it in. Again, this isn't super important, but it's helpful to kind of have something mapped out so it doesn't feel like you're just going in blind. So you might say, I'm going to do FAR in the next 3 months, then I'll take 2 months off and I'll do audit in 2 months, reg the next 2 months, take another month off, and then do one of the disciplines. That's just an example. But please be realistic. Don't say, okay, I'm going to pass FAR in 6 weeks. And like, that's crazy. If you're working a full-time job trying to pass FAR in 6 weeks, you're either a genius or you're insane. Okay, but now that you have that like high level timeline, it's time to move into a bit more of the smaller details and your actual study plan. So your study plan is going to be, exactly how you study every day, what you do every day, how many days a week you study, how many hours a day you study, that sort of thing. And you can be as specific as you want. If you really want to get super detailed on it, you can, but you don't need to. I would say in general, just try to like figure out how many days a week you want to study, how many hours a week you want to study, and you can kind of work back into the study plan from there. Because if you know you want to study 20 hours a week, but you only want to study Monday through Friday, then I need to study 4 hours a day. 4 hours might be a bit much for you, which is okay. You can drop that down to maybe 15 hours, which is just 3 hours a day. Or if you want to study 7 days a week, then you can still do your 20 hours, but it'll be a bit less every day. And when you're doing this, it's really important to be honest with yourself, because there's no point in saying, I'm going to study 25 hours a week, or I'm going to study 35 hours a week, when week one, a bunch of things come up, as they always do, or like you're too busy at work as you knew you would be, and you only get to study like 10 hours. Like that doesn't help you at all. Like you might like saying I'm going to do 35 hours and then only doing 10 does not help you at all. You'd be much better off being like, hey, I have a really busy week this week. I'll probably only be able to do 10 hours. And that way you can plan for it. You're not like frustrated when, the studying doesn't happen or anything like that. It's just better to be honest with yourself so you can create a realistic plan. Because also if you say I'm gonna study 35 hours, you think you're gonna get through 2 or 3 chapters, and then you only get through like 1, then the rest of your plan is messed up. So just be honest with yourself, set a realistic plan that you think that you can keep. Also try to like set expectations in terms of like, am I gonna study in the morning? Will I study at night? Will I study at lunch? Like where will I study? Like set those expectations. Don't just go like with the flow and figure it out as you go. There is an element of like go with the flow, but in general, try to have it planned a decent bit so you know what to expect. Like, okay, I'm going to wake up at 7, study for 2 hours. Then after work, I'll study for another 2 hours. Because if you don't have that, you're just going to like get to the end of the day and be like, oh wait, I didn't study, or like I only have an hour to study, but I wanted to do 3. So make sure you're a bit more regimented with when you want to study and how you want to study. Well, speaking of how you want to study, here's exactly how I studied. I would watch the lectures, take notes as I was watching the lectures. The lecture would finish. I would move on to multiple choice questions. I would do anywhere from 50 to 100% of the multiple choice questions offered for that module. I would take notes as I was doing that. And then I would usually move on to the next lecture. Sometimes I would do the simulation if there was one, but as you guys know, I don't really like simulations that much. So I would usually just move to the next lecture and rinse and repeat. Watch the lecture, take notes, do the multiple choice, take notes, and move to the next one. So that's how I would progress daily through the new material. But at the same time, I was always going back and reviewing old material. So pretty much daily, I would go back and practice MCQs from old chapters, or review flashcards from old chapters, review my old notes from old chapters. So always just going back and trying to keep that material fresh. Another great study method is elaboration. I would do that sometimes too, is go back and like find key terms in a chapter and just try to explain them in my own words to make sure I actually understood them. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like it's just as simple as that. Watch the lecture, take notes, do the multiple choice, take notes, sometimes do a simulation, take notes, move on to the next one, and just keep progressing like that every single day. And it is tough with a job, trust me. Like I've been there, and going to the office and then coming home and it's like, oh, like I need to study now. Like that's so brutal. Like it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. Like I'm not here to tell you that it is, but it is doable. It is possible. So just try to keep that in mind. Plenty of people have done it. You're not the first person to try to do it. So take some solace in that. Yeah, if you are working, maybe your job, at least for me, I was an associate at a public accounting firm. There were times where there wasn't a ton of work going on. So I was definitely using that free time to study for the exam. Don't be the guy who uses your free time to play Xbox or like go out for walks and things like that. Obviously that's important, but like study for the exam, like take advantage of these hours, because they become like less and less as you move further up and get more responsibility. As if you're someone who's a bit older in your career, you probably are well aware there's a lot more responsibility now, and it's definitely a bit harder to find those extra hours to study. And probably when you finish work, you're even more tired and you probably have more responsibilities outside of like work. So for all the younger people watching, definitely just get it done as soon as possible. I know too many people who have wasted years saying, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And all right, why haven't you done it? Like, just get it done, at least start, Too many people don't even start. But actually, that's not true. A lot of people do start, but a lot of people, no one stays consistent. That's the key. You have to stay consistent. Just stick with it. Just keep going every single day and at least take one exam. Don't be the person who studies and studies and studies and falls off. No, at least get to exam one. Like, come on, if you can't even get to exam one, what are you doing? So if you haven't taken any exams, that should be your number one goal. Sit for one exam. All right, I might have gotten a little off track there, but as I was saying, like, just to recap, it starts with the mindset shift. Like, you need to, change from that college student, if that's where you were, to now, okay, I'm a professional, like I'm working, like I need to think about this a little differently. And then it's about setting expectations, how much am I going to study? When am I going to study? Where am I going to study? Like, make sure you know this stuff. It's going to make studying a lot easier and, more likely that you actually do it. And then once you have that, unfortunately, it's just about staying consistent, putting in the work every single day. Like I was saying, if it's Becker, if it's Ninja, whatever review course you have, just watch the lecture, take notes, MCQs, take notes, simulation, take notes, and move on and move on and move on. And every day, practice some MCQs from an old chapter or review some old notes. So that's all it is. Move forward, but look back. Move forward, but look back. As simple as that. Well, it sounds simple. It's a lot harder to actually do every day, unfortunately. But anyway, I've been ranting a bit in this video, but I feel passionate about this because I know too many people who have let their potential go to waste because they haven't been able to stay consistent or they haven't found the right plan. So if you liked what you heard and you think this plan might work for you, that's awesome. And if you want a bit more personal or one-on-one guidance, check the link down below because I do work with students one-on-one, like mentoring and coaching them, to get through these exams because it is tough, especially if you don't know where to go or how to start. So if that's something you're interested in, check the link down below because I'd love to work with you. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and I will see you in the next one. Peace.